This episode of the Two Planker podcast is sponsored by Line Skis. Founded in 1995 with a mission to grow and rejuvenate skiing, Line has spent the last 25 years skiing the wrong way and having fun while doing it. Whether it's the playful Line Blend or the Tom Wallish Pro, the lightweight Vision Collection or the cutting edge Blade, Line offers products that you can't find anywhere else. Be sure to check them out at lineskis.com or your local ski shop to get a pair for this season. All right, everyone, welcome back. Today in the show, we have Ryan Barrick, who you may know as That Young Ski Bum on Instagram. In this episode, we get a breakdown of the ski bum lifestyle, what it's like to live in an RV, how much it costs per year, how you even make the leap in the first place, basically everything from top to bottom. In terms of housekeeping, we got the usual suspects. Subscribe and give us a rating if you like the show. Follow us on Instagram at twoplankerpod, and be sure to stick around until the end of this episode because Ryan gives some info about the Millbastards movie premiere happening this November in Salt Lake City. That's all for now. Hope you like it. All right. So here we are with another episode in the fall, and we are here with Ryan Barrick, commonly known as That Young Ski Bum on Instagram.
What up?
Yeah, so I still am not releasing the videos yet. Everybody, let me know if you guys want the videos because Ryan's background right now is sick. He's in an RV. So, I don't know, just tell us where you're at right now before we kind of get into who you are and all those stories.
I'm in a awesome little town of Hood River, Oregon, pretty close to Mount Hood. I live full time in this RV. I have a Subaru that I use when I'm in Oregon, when I'm like going to and from work or grocery store and stuff, so I don't have to move the RV as much. But when I tell my friends I'm going home after like a weekend on the coast or something, I come back to this RV.
Yeah, word. So where's
Wherever
like
it's parked.
yeah. So where's like home base for you? Like where do you keep your stuff? Like where are your parents at? Where's home base for you?
My parents live in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania. I do have a lot of stuff there still, but I've been on the West Coast for 4 years now, only going back for quick flights home for Christmas and stuff, or random urban trips if it snows.
Word. So you're a Pennsylvania kid. Let's start out like where did it all begin for you?
Ski Round Top, if you've ever heard of it. Wallace came for a few events back in the day. But yeah, just a small resort on the East Coast, like 10 slopes, couple lifts, one park, probably the size of a football field, if that, but just packed full of rails.
Yeah. So you're 24. We were talking about this before. So were you it like did you ever cross paths with Steve Stepp while he was still there?
Yes, I want to say it would have been maybe he call it like first couple years of college for him, but when he would come home for Christmas, he'd just randomly show at Round Top for like a weekend or something, and like it would go crazy. Kids would be all over. People would come from other resorts, like, "Yo, have you guys seen Steve Stepp?" And he'd just be like this, like quiet, like he'd always have a camera dude with him, and like he'd like kind of venture off and like try and get away from the kids and stuff like that. But yeah, me and my buddy Derek, or Iceberg Simpson, we grew up, and he would come back, and also Josh Wong, and yeah, like he would ski with the three of us, and we'd make a few little edits, but nothing crazy.
Dude, that's so awesome. I can't even imagine like Steve being my hometown pro. That's super sick. So
So
like
crazy, just like because he would come home at like the first year he would be like normal Steve, like all kidded Saga and Spy, and then the second year he came home was like right around like Zane Cushman and all that. So like he was vaping the whole time and just like you couldn't tell if he was being serious or just like in his persona or not. It was hilarious.
dude, that's wicked funny. So what like sparked your interest in skiing? Where did that side of you come from?
I think it was just the you could be completely on your own trying to like accomplish it, or like you didn't need a whole team or anything to show up. You could just go. But with it being such a small resort where I grew up, I was 7-minute drive to my house at night, and you'd go up there and you wouldn't even text anybody, and you'd have like three chair full of kids to ride with, and it was just something I think my parents put me on skis when I was 2 for just like one time, and then me and my brother picked it up at like 13 or 14, and then I actually snowboarded for 4 years I learned to ski, then snowboarded for 4 years, and then switched back, and I haven't snowboarded since.
Yeah. Did you ever dabble in any other sports, or were you always like just on the mountain?
I did all kinds of sports. It's actually was I've done everything. I did like little motocross when I was a kid, hockey, wrestling, soccer, all the normal sports, and then like I don't know. I feel like just the little kid watching X Games and all that was just such a big thing. But I was never that great at skateboarding, and all my friends went skiing, and we were that close to a ski resort. So I think it just worked out that way.
That's awesome, man. So like I think that like a big pattern I've noticed is that, leaving high school is the big turning point for a lot of people that get into the ski industry. So what were your plans coming out of high school? Did you think you want, I don't know if you, did you go to college? Did you want to go to college? Like what were you thinking at that time?
I I went to college. I never thought I wouldn't finish college, but I applied to two places, University of Utah and Colorado Mountain College at Steamboat Springs, and I only got into one of those. So I went to Colorado, but it's crazy. Like thinking back then, like I only went to where I knew I wanted to ski. I didn't even think about school or anything. Growing up, like pretty wealthy, like not wealthy family, but like I never had to think about things growing up. And I just thought where I wanted to go skiing, and I like didn't think much of it. And yeah, just I went there, did 6 months, one semester, and I was just like, I am not skiing enough. That and I couldn't waste my parents' money getting like D's, not really passing the classes. So I moved back home for like another, I think I went to college for another semester just to see if I could do another community college and not worry about spending my parents' money. And then I just kept every day sitting in an evening class being like, oh, I'm like, as soon as I leave here, I'm going to the resort. I didn't even think about homework. I didn't think about anything else. It was just go skiing. And I just couldn't stay motivated to do something where I was spending money and not really succeeding at it.
Yeah. And so, I mean, so obviously you weren't like super stoked about school. When you were imagining or when you were thinking about skiing, was it like, oh, I want to be a pro, or was it literally, I just want to go skiing right now and that's the only thing I want to do?
I never, coming from the East Coast and like growing up, all there was Steve Stepp and Tom Wallace. That's two people out of all the skiers you ever meet. So I never in my entire life pictured myself ever becoming a professional skier or anything like that. So I just was like, screw it, I'm gonna go ski. Like you can live that life without it. You just gotta learn to, put your money where you want it and not spend it on things you're like, oh, that Amazon package or whatnot. It's like, oh, I could go skiing for a week with that money.
Yeah. Dude, and so when you're failing your classes and like you're going to community college, what were you thinking at the time and like what were your parents thinking at the time? Because that's definitely like so like other people view that and they're like, "Oh yeah, this kid's like going down the drain. Like this isn't working out." Like what was going on in your inner circle when that was happening to you?
My parents definitely weren't that stoked on it. And just like, I mean, both my parents are small town, small farming town. You go to college, like simple, normal life of you meet somebody, you get married, and you do all that. And I feel like like skiing to my parents has never been anything other than an activity. It's not like, oh, you could make money or you could do this or people will know you from all over the world, or especially with the internet coming out. My parents are like late or mid 50s, so they're on the older side, so they don't understand Instagram and stuff like that. So just like the way it went and just like not having good grades, I was just like, I just ended up talking to my mom. I was like, this, like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to waste your money. Like, I'm just going to go do this. And my parents just said, well, if you're going to do this, we're not going to give you any money. They're going to support me in any way they can, but they didn't see any financial gain out of it or anything. So they were just like, yeah, you're on your own. And that's when this crazy trip to Oregon kind of changed my life.
Yeah, so did they give you a timeline at all? Like, okay, maybe do this for 6 months and then come back and like start doing a real job, or was it just like open-ended, you're just gonna do whatever you want for the foreseeable future?
I don't think it, it probably would have came to that, but I was just, there was like a weird 6 months where I was just like, it was almost fall, like it was end of the summer. I was working at a Subway, just buying car parts, working on my Subaru, living at home, and all I got to this point was I'm saving 3 grand, packing all my shit into my car and driving to Mount Hood for Spring Pass. So I think them thinking I was coming home from that, that's probably when I would have got that talk, but that ended up never happening because never ended up coming home from that Spring Pass.
So let's hear it. So what happened with this, with the trip to Oregon that changed the course of your life?
Crazy, crazy fun times. Um, if you ever have a chance to go to Spring Pass at Hood, it's definitely a thing you need to do. Um, I drove from Pennsylvania to Oregon. I stopped at Colorado and Utah, seeing some friends, but mostly was on my way to Spring Pass. And I got there and it was so sick. There was hundreds of kids, people I like just from going through Colorado and Utah that I was like, yo, I'm on my way to Spring Pass. They're like, oh, sweet, like semester ends soon, like we'll be there soon as well. So just like all the kids I met like in the big scene, like Summit County and in Salt Lake, after just rolling through there, everybody ended up at Spring Pass. So spent a month out at Spring Pass. That's where I linked up with Owen and Lupe, and that's ultimately where I met Lupe. But just an insane amount of kids that go to Hood to sleep in the woods and ski for an entire month, and everybody's just bumming it. You're making pizzas in the woods. You're freaking 12 people on a car going to some lookout to smoke a bunch of weed. Like, it's just the craziest time. And the amount of people I met that are just like core to the industry or just core people in general, just like from everywhere. There was kids that were 8 deep in a van that were from Vermont the whole way in Oregon. Like, it's just a crazy time.
Yeah. So like after you met Lupe and Owen and like what was just going through your mind at the time? Like what were you thinking? Because obviously you're exposed to like a whole new world and you see like how big the ski industry is. What were you thinking at that point?
I just knew that as much as there are ski resorts and a lot of rail jams on the East Coast and stuff like that, it seemed like everybody out west was die hard. Like, I'm gonna drive 5 states to go to this. And then like everywhere I went, I didn't even need to know your name. I just remembered faces and I was like, yo, Spring Pass. And like you would know. It was just like the craziest thing.
Yeah. And so what were your next steps from there? Because obviously like I'm assuming you're like, oh yeah, this was a great choice. And so just where did it evolve from there? How did
So it
you
was
build on that experience?
so it was a crazy story because back growing up with Iceberg, my best friend from high school, Derek Simpson, he actually has an uncle that lives out here in Hood River. And we came out here in like 2010 in the summer, like July, like over July 4th or something. And that was my first experience ever of being out west and on a huge mountain and skiing in the summertime. So I just like knowing that in my head and then knowing like what I was going to travel to Spring Pass and like just those two events in my life being such crazy and powerful things. I just like when I came back out, I met him again and he owns a sawmill and he was just like, hey, I need workers. Like, if you want to stay, I got you. And I actually lived on a boat that he got for free. That's from the 80s. It's this crazy, it looks like an RV inside, like master bedroom, kitchen, like all that. And he's like, yeah, I'll let you live on this until you like get some money after working for me. So I ended up staying, living on this boat in the marina and just working at a sawmill until I bought an RV.
So that was the
Yeah.
start of you setting up shop out there and just like building a new life basically.
Yeah, I had $700 to either drive back to PA or like figure out how to get a job and a place to stay.
Yeah. Did you have like a tight crew back in Pennsylvania, or were you just like ready to meet new people and do whatever?
I had a tight crew, but it's just like that time in your life where everyone's going different directions for college. And some kids were going places where there was no ski resorts, and some people were still going where there was. And it was just like this thing where I knew I wanted to ski. So if those friends still skied, or even if they don't ski and want to talk to me, like I didn't shun them or anything, but like the friends that still skied, I definitely stayed much tighter with.
Yeah, of course. Dude, a sawmill, that's a no joke job, you know. That's like some actual like proper manual labor. And so did you have jobs like that beforehand, or was this like your new exposure to like, damn, like this is hard work on my body?
I like my dad built a small hunting cabin in Pennsylvania, and I helped him for a few years. So just like the like put your head down and work kind of jobs weren't new to me. So I just thought sawmill, if I just crank a bunch of hours, I can save money for the winters.
Yeah, yeah. Dude, that's super tight. So like how long did you stick with that job for? Because I feel like you live kind of a nomadic lifestyle. So I can't imagine you being in one place for like super long.
Well, it's crazy. I only ever worked that job in the summers, and I've done it for 3 of the 4 summers I've lived in Oregon.
Yeah,
So usually I'm very lucky that in when it comes to November and I tell him, yeah, I'm gonna be gone for 6, 7 months, he's very cool with that. And then
yeah,
when I get back to Hood River in May, he's like, yeah, if you need job like hours, I need you.
yeah. That's
So if
awesome.
you kind of work hard, it works out in life.
Yeah. So so you worked that summer, and so what was it like your first winter coming off like that summer, building up cash all summer, and then winter finally comes around, you're like, all right, peace out, I'm going around. Like what was that first winter like out there?
It was sick. I actually didn't spend the winter here in Hood River. I got a small loan from a construction guy I worked with who was friends with the uncle who owns the sawmill. Very confusing. I work a lot of small little jobs, but he actually like he would sat me down and he saw that I was having trouble getting like $5,000 6,000 loans from banks. And he was like, well, what if I be the bank and I give you a loan? And I was like, that's awesome. Like, I'll pay you. You like all my mail comes to your house right now. So yeah, so he gave me a loan. I got an RV, and that winter I went to Colorado. I went to Summit County because that's where the scene still was at the time.
Yeah. And were you meeting anyone out there in particular, or are you just like, yep, that's where it's at, that's where I'm going?
I had a few friends that went to school close by, but we would just meet on the weekends. And actually, when I went to Steamboat Springs for one semester, that's actually where I met Owen. And Owen was in Summit by then, so I was hanging out with Owen, and then a bunch of other guys I met. And then Colorado at the time, just like Keystone, you went there by yourself. Like I would just sleep in the parking lot, like the shuttle parking lot at Keystone, and every day I would just ride the bus to the main lift and go up. And I like you didn't need to text anybody. You just go up there, and that's like the place to be.
Yeah, and it's a bummer that that's changed a lot from what I've heard, but
Yes, it has. It's sad. It's very sad.
dude, so at that time, who was based in Summit? Like what years are we talking?
This would have been 2017, 18, I think, or 18, 19.
Hmm.
I think 17, 18.
Yeah.
That's when that should have been. Yeah. So like all the mole squad was still mole squad. They were up in the apartments in Silverthorne. Lupe was in Summit. I don't like just everybody. All the camps were coming there still. All the teams. It was just a big like. That's one of the places where I met Dadali for the first time, and he's one dude who inspired me a lot to go the RV lifestyle.
Yeah. So you were out there with all those guys. Were you trying to carve your spot in skiing at all? Like, were you thinking about specializing? Oh, maybe I'll pick up a camera. Like, maybe I'll try to be in front of the camera. Maybe I'll, be a social media guy. Like, were you trying to carve out your specialty, or were you just there for the ride?
I was just there to get as good as I could at skiing. I just knew that some people have insane ability to just huck themselves, and like some people are sketchy about it. Some people can do that and look so amazing. And I just knew that I wasn't a big jump guy, and I didn't have a big resort to go to. So my big thing was just skiing every single day. My resort growing up on the East Coast was open like 90 some days a season. And there was multiple seasons where I missed a few days. And some of those days were only days I got kicked out of. So like thing I always was like, oh, the more days you can touch rails and learn those tricks and do those tricks a million times, you're just going to get better.
And so, did you end up joining Owen's Steam Boys? I haven't done much research on the Steam Boys, but it seems like that timeline would kind of match up.
I definitely was probably one of the last inductees of the Steam Boys for sure, and I was honored to be a part of that crew. All those guys are awesome.
Yeah. And so what were those days like, and what was just like the dynamic between all you guys?
It's just like it was like everybody in the Steam Boys was like Mikey's from Jersey, Robbie. If you know Robbie Brown, he's just an amazing human being. Just like this cast of crew is just like from all over the place, but just like this one love of like skiing. And Steamboat Springs is such a small little town that like in that college, if you went there, you like met the diehard people very quickly.
Yeah. And did you guys know that Owen had talent? Because like obviously Owen's gone on to like he was in X Games as a filmer. So like, did you guys know that he had a special talent, or was it just like, oh yeah, this dude's dope?
He was definitely like always my eyes the best filmer I ever had. There was always filmers that like had amazing cameras or like had like just like all the money that they needed for setups or editing software or whatnot. But Owen was always that dude who like even after like the edit's done or like like on to the next thing, and like he's always like, oh, like what should we do next, what do we do, like, and he always while he's doing everything like his eye for filming is unreal. You'll be standing at a spot and he'll be like have his eye in his camera just like doing something, and you're like, what are you doing, Owen? And he's like, yo, I got this sick shot, like you'll see.
Just super mysterious. He's like, nah, just
Yeah, but
trust,
he just
trust.
like and some things he'll just be like, yeah, I'm just like fucking around trying this new thing, and then you'll like see it when he's editing it, and you're like, dang, dude, like how did you even know that those things would go together?
Yeah. Were you ever an urban guy? Because I know a lot of your clips come from the park. Were you guys ever getting on the streets, or you just sticking to the resorts?
As a kid, younger, I there was like maybe one or two spots a year. Just Pennsylvania wasn't a big snowy place, and winches to me weren't a thing yet. The first time I ever really hit urban and tried to film something was with Owen in college. It was just a simple rail. It was like, yeah, and I don't even know if I got the clip. I think some like one of the other homies got the clip, but I was just like, dang, this some of this is like way not like it's not just a down flat rail. There's like fences and stairs and like you can get fucked up.
Yeah. Well, so that's what I was thinking, dude. Because you're coming from the East Coast. I'm an East Coast guy myself. Like, were you ever intimidated by the gnarliness of like the mountains out west, the terrain, and just how gnarly the skiers out there are?
Definitely took until I came out west to like be standing on a slope side and be scared just where I'm standing. Normally that's not a thing. Like rail like comes to rails, like you're scared when you're on the rail and you're not like you're like straddling it. That's when you're most terrified.
Yeah. So like where does it evolve from you? Because there's no like clear point in my mind at least where it's like a before and after, like a oh you made it, and like this was like leading up to that. Like what where did your route kind of evolve from there, and what have you like sort of developed in skiing just being out there for 4 years now?
I kind of just was making park videos, traveling with friends, just like trying to do whatever we could do to, put ourselves out there. Like made a tall T edit with my buddy Tyler earlier this season, and just like I really had no like I don't have like all I knew is I wanted to ski, and that's like wherever it goes from there. Like if I get into a company or I start a ski company or something like that, I didn't know. I just knew that if I skied and I got as good as I could, no matter what, I could figure something out later in life.
Dude, I love it. It's such like a you're honestly like we were talking about before. I've interviewed like a lot of different people, but your mindset is just so different from everyone else's. It's like every like a lot of other people are very cerebral about it. They're like, I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna accomplish this and we're gonna get it done. And you're just like, yeah, man, if it happens, great. If not, whatever. Have you always been that way? It's just like kind of go with the flow.
I would like to think so, at least with life. Like I don't like to slack off or anything. I don't know if it's my ADHD or whatnot, but I just like I always like to stay busy, and it's like skiing is so easy to stay busy because it's something I love more than anything. Like the feeling of being in the middle of a trick and not thinking about anything else in the world, and then landing that and knowing like, oh, my hands were next to me, my feet were together, and like I'm on to the next thing. Like that is life.
Yeah. It seems like you're like a pretty introspective guy and you've chosen this unique path. What do you think about your path versus what basically everyone else does?
I just try to stay true to myself and what I can do and what capabilities I have. Like it's just hard to see. Like I know, like it's just hard because some people will tell you like, "Oh, I'm a skier and I'm gonna be here forever," and then a couple years down the line, you're like, "Oh, well, where did this person go?" And it's just like I understand if like you were making all this money and all of a sudden those people didn't want to back you or something, and now you're like, "Oh, I don't know what I'm doing." Like I was once this, and now it's like demoted to like now I have to go buy my stuff and do all that, and it's just like I like if I can support myself to go skiing winter after winter, why like I don't see why I would want to like have to listen to other people tell me you have to create this, you have to create that and go to these events and be this person in this type of way when like I can just do what I want to do and I can support myself and not ever have to be like, "Oh, well that funding's gone, that funding's gone." And it's like there's so many kids growing up where their parents fund like I got my skis for Christmas, I got my boots for Christmas. Like I definitely had help, but it wasn't like, oh, skiing and like your ski pass, that's like what you need. So we're gonna get you this, you boots, that's what you need. It was something where I always had to like park crew for my pass or something like that to where I didn't have to rely on anybody. And I don't like to rely on other people to like live life.
Yeah. I mean, dude, that's interesting that you took it like immediately to the ski space because there's tons of people who show up to a job they hate, make Excel spreadsheets all day, send some emails, and then go home, you know? Like it's just the life that you're living right now. I feel like it's what a lot of people in the back of their mind, they're like, "Oh yeah, one day I'm just going to quit my job and like just buy an RV and just live off the map." So realistically, how difficult is it doing that?
I like it's hard because in some ways there are things you just don't even think about going into this lifestyle I don't even know what to tell you and what not to tell you, but like I didn't like I definitely knew it wasn't going to be easy, but now that I'm here and I it's not really that hard. Maybe saving future and like having savings and stuff like that, that might be a thing I need to figure out down the line, but like being able to fully support myself is a pretty amazing feeling to be able to do what I'm doing and I don't know, not worry too much. Like I know, oh, once the money is gone, I need to get a job, but it's like when I'm making money, it's real easy for me to be like, oh, this money, this is going straight towards skiing. So like don't spend this.
Yeah. So, in terms of like logistics, let's break down like what goes into living in an RV. So, where do you park the RV?
Anywhere that is as cheap as I can get it.
Okay, so you
I
do have
like
to pay to park.
like I mean when I'm moving in the wintertime, I just do ski resort parking lots, so that's free. Walmart's free, Home Depot's free. A lot of places are free.
Yeah, and then like when you're working during the summer and like you're tied to one specific place, what's your game plan for that?
um there's a lot of people I know working kind of in the construction zone that have a lots of land, or like a lot of people on the West Coast have like that big extra driveway because everybody has an RV or a travel trailer. So it's really not that hard. Like I've done where I redid a deck for a lady for like a week, and she's just like, "Yeah, just park where my old RV used to be. You can plug in and everything." Like it's when you just talk to people and like it have kind of more of a tight thing. It's real easy to just be like, "Hey, can I park my small RV next to your house or something like that?" And most
Yeah.
people are cool with it. A lot of people are intrigued the second I say I live in an RV as a 24-year-old.
Yeah, dude, it is super intriguing. So, do you have I mean, I see that you have electricity running right now. So, do you run on hookups? Like do you have running water and like internet and what
I
creature comforts do you have in there?
so I installed a solar system on this RV, so most of the time when I'm mobile, I can be parked in a parking lot somewhere for a couple days before I have to like use a generator or start the RV or anything. So powering electronics, computers, stuff like that is very easy. Cooking food, I have a propane stove, so just making sure I don't run out of propane, stuff like that. Internet, my family has Xfinity, so Xfinity hotspots are everywhere. Most of the big cities or ski towns are pretty fancy, so a lot of them have Xfinity, stuff like that. I have AT&T hotspot, so whenever I get to use that for a little bit until I run out of that. So it's just like kind of jumping around doing what I need to do.
Yeah. And so in terms of like startup cost, like say tomorrow I wanted to quit my job and like do exactly what you're doing right now, how much money would I need to like get your exact same setup going and get all that figured out?
If you had a friend or if you had me to talk to like show you an RV like this is good or not good, you can find some pretty reliable RVs. My first RV lasted me only a year and a half, but it was $8,200. So I would say like $7,500, or yeah, $5,000 to $7,500 is
Yeah.
probably a good start just for like a solid vehicle. I wouldn't go like this one I had to take out a loan for. So I wouldn't do that off the bat just to see how you like the lifestyle, because I know a lot of people that have bought in vans or RVs and were like a couple months are like, I hate this.
Yeah.
So you don't like, I would say like $8,000 total to start.
And then what are your monthly expenses for it? Like do you have insurance for it?
I have insurance. It's I think $180 a month for 6 months of the year.
Uh-huh.
So like 1,200 a year, $100 a month total.
Dude. And then just food after that.
Yep, food and gas.
Wow. Dude, that is such a like when you break it down like that, most people that have a regular, average Joe job could easily just like boom, I'm gone, see you in a year and
Yeah,
just living off that.
I want to say my like normal living, like when I get to a city, like it's literally just food and like maybe $100 a month for gas if I'm, because I like I'll just every now and then move to another homie's house a mile away. So it's just like it's not that hard.
And so what are you doing for gear at this point? Because I mean, you're surrounded by skiing all the time. So I'm sure you've picked up some sponsors along the way, or at least some people to flow you some product.
Yeah, Tall Tee's always been a big supporter of mine. That's like all I have for clothes. So I'm pretty stoked to have them backing me. Tall Tee, or in Deviation, skis, they've definitely kept skis on my feet, which I can't thank them enough. Super small company, but we're getting there. We're getting
Yeah.
there. And then Syndicate is what my buddy Derek just started, and it's a pant company. So if you need pants, Syndicate, that's the way to go.
So when I hear deviation, I immediately think Lupe. So
Yeah.
so was he your connection into it, or did you find your way there some other way?
Actually, I got him into Deviation.
Hey, the old
Yeah.
switcheroo.
So yeah, like crazy story. That year that I moved out to Oregon, went to Spring Pass and stayed, the sales manager of Deviation at the time hit me up on Instagram and was just like, "Hey, we're looking for skiers. We're in Portland, so if you want to ever come check out the warehouse." And I was like, "Sick, but like I don't want just skis. It's got to be more than just I want skis and that's it. Like I want to be involved." So I went to the factory and yeah, I just saw how small it was and how much everybody was, talking and figuring stuff out, and it just seemed like a fit. And yeah, I've been with them for, this is going to be my fourth winter.
Dude, that's so awesome. And so what was like the agreement you made with them? Because so they give you product. What did they expect in return from you?
Just videos and content for social media at the time, and then the next year after that, they were planning this big demo tour as a small company with like everything being made in the US. They wanted to kind of branch out, so they did this, I think it was like 9,000 miles and 30 some resorts or something like that, some demo trip. And they were like counting it out to see how much it would be with all the hotels and stuff. And they were just like, this is not feasible. And I was like, well, I'm really good friends with the sales manager. So like, why don't we just take my RV, you guys pay gas and everything and we just go. And they were like, oh sure, like why not, like that literally cut like the trip cost in half. So of course they said yes, and we did that.
Dude, that's a huge thing to be able to offer a company. Be like, yeah, I literally only need gas money. Like not
Yeah.
even on some like traveling circus, like we need gas money and like money for motels. You're like, yeah, I could actually just stay in this RV 24/7.
Yep. It was, yeah, we did 9,000 miles. I think there was like only 30 some resorts that we demoed at, but that winter I hit 40 some plus resorts.
Yeah.
It was crazy, and it was all every gas, food, everything was paid for.
Yeah. And what was that like for you, man? Like seeing all those resorts coming from the East Coast, was it just like a whole new world that you were being exposed to?
It was definitely like absolutely amazing. Like I think the only other resort outside of the East Coast I went to like before this was Hood and Park City and Copper. So then to see all these resorts that aren't like epic or icon resorts, these smaller resorts, was definitely very eye-opening.
Yeah. So what were like some of the high points and low points on that trip? Because I can't imagine that like every day is perfect. You know, you go to some little podunk mountain, it's shitty weather, and you're like, damn, this isn't this
Oh
isn't
geez.
super rad.
Low points definitely when you showed up at a resort and they had like one rail that was so bad, and then it was also some of the worst weather. I think there was one resort in Washington that I skied one lap and just went back to the RV, and I was like, there's you can't see anything. There was one rail in, and I was just like, I'm not gonna, like, I don't know. I didn't feel like skiing that day. It was towards the end of the trip, and I was just like, this ain't happening.
Oh man. And so like I mean from that trip, what were some of the points that stuck out to you where you're just like looking around and you're like, there's literally nothing on earth I'd rather be doing right now?
The smallest resort we went to was by far my favorite resort. It
Yeah.
was it was like within the first hour I knew every liftie's name. I like the lady that came and gave us lift tickets, like she was just like, "Oh, like anything you guys need, like let us know." And like we went to the bar after skiing, and they like we had the deviation card like to buy it, and like they were like, "No, like here." And like it was the craziest thing because when we were at this resort, they told us not to tag them in any of the social media anything because they didn't want to blow up. They don't like their motto as a ski resort is same as it ever was.
I
It's this
love that.
one lift resort.
Yeah. And so did you get a bunch of kids out there riding with you or
It
was it
was it was so sick. It was all like it was just one lift. There's like 8 to 10 trails. They actually have some really amazing cat skiing off the back, but it was too early in the season for that. But right down underneath the lift is just this huge rock like area, so that, and it didn't snow a whole lot. So like there's all these really sharp jump takeoffs and just like all these jumps staggered all over the mountain right under the lift. And like by the end of the day, I had like 10 kids following the exact line I did, doing like little 360s, like just jumping and slamming, but just like laughing their asses off. And I just thought, like, I was just like, dang, like that would have been me.
yeah. And so when did you get Lupe in the fold with deviation?
Uh, it would have been after the spring pass that I met him. We kind of stayed in touch and linked up when I was back in Summit County. And I think it came down to SIA or something. I was like, yeah, like you should just come check out the booth. Like you can meet the owner. Like, yeah. And I got him to come over and he talked to them. And from there, it was history.
Yeah. And so, I mean, you guys are seems like you're pretty tight now. Did you? I think from what I saw on online, you guys were like surfing down in Mexico for a while.
Yep.
So like, so what's that side of you like? The like you're not even just a ski bum; you're like a surf bum too.
I like anything that can get me to where I'm in the zone where I don't think about anything. Anything that relates to that feeling of skiing, I'm so down for. And
Yeah,
it's just like to stay fresh, you know, like 5, 6 years of skiing, like over 200, like not quite 200, but I would say at least 5 years of like 160 plus days skiing. Like I don't want to get burned out. I don't
Yeah.
think I will, but I just like, it's sick to learn something new. And like a lot of people skateboard, and I'm not the greatest skateboarder, and I hate slamming on concrete. So surfing to me is a lot safer.
Yeah. And when did you get into that? Because there's definitely no surfing out in Pennsylvania.
I want to say 3 summers ago, me and Lupe bought wetsuits on the Oregon coast, and we both picked it up.
And did it translate easily from skiing, or was it just a whole new beast?
Not really. I think it would have been if I kept with snowboarding a little more, I would have done better. But it wasn't that, like, it was kind of related a little bit more to skateboarding, but it definitely took a while, couple
Yeah.
weeks. And there was this one big 1 month surf trip that we went on where I think that's where I like, if you just got it day after day, hit it hard until you understand it.
Yeah. Dude, I mean, to show you my level of knowledge on surfing, I literally just learned the other day from TikTok that the wax on the board is so your feet sticks like so you it's sticky on the top, dude. It's like I always thought the wax went on the bottom of the board for some reason, but
Oh my
it's like grip
gosh.
tape for the surfboard. I had no idea.
Oh, I learned that the hard way as a kid too. Me and my brother got a skimboard and we put the wax on the bottom.
Yeah, bro. So it seems like there's a lot to learn for surfing. I've tried it like a couple times and dude just could not get the hang of it. It was we were doing it on like we were basically just like surfing the foam, like just super
Yep.
light stuff. But damn, like what was this trip all about with you and Lupe? How'd you guys get down there and like
It was kind of just celebrating X Games and just celebrating like like it was such a crazy winter. It's so hard to look back and be like, dang, that really happened. But
yeah.
yeah, we were just down in Mexico celebrating, having a good time, surfing, catching waves.
Did you drive down in the RV or did you finally get on a plane?
Me and Owen were like planning out this huge like 4 or 5 thousand mile like road trip, and then we were just like, let's just fly, let's just do it. Because Lupe actually flew down, and he was down there for like 3 months, and we only came and linked up for a month.
Yeah. Dude,
But
only
yeah,
a month. That's still a pretty decent amount of time.
oh yeah, it's unreal,
Yeah,
unreal.
so what was your day-to-day like there? Because I mean, it seems like your lifestyle would translate pretty well to just surfing every day. So was it basically same thing except it's hot out instead of cold?
Yeah, made it a whole lot easier to just chill. Didn't have like like yeah, it I could see myself definitely when I get older and can't ski anymore, which hopefully that's a very long time, but I could definitely see the transition to a surf bum for sure.
Yeah. Dude, I mean, it seems like I would honestly probably lean towards the surf lifestyle just because you don't have to deal with the elements at all. Like, is there like an element of do you ever feel like, oh damn, I'm in an RV right now in a pretty bad storm, or like, oh shit, what if I break down right now? Are you ever nervous about like having to deal with the winters, or is it at this point you're pretty confident that you could handle whatever's going on?
Winters, I'm pretty confident. I have a bunch like I have 2 generators, I have solar, I have backup propane heater that uses no batteries. Like I have a bunch of stuff that I like. I've definitely gone through times where like, oh, I ran out of propane, I'm fucking freezing,
Yeah.
stuff like that. So like you learn over the years for sure.
Yeah. I mean, what were some of the tougher lessons that you had to learn living in the RV? Were there any moments where you like, damn, I messed this up bad? Like didn't take care of the RV or like just didn't plan properly? Like, was there a sharp learning curve?
Other than at
Excuse me.
first it just being like propane and like batteries are like not buying the right like solar batteries, so like they just didn't hold charges or like died too early. Other than that, it was nothing big until my first RV blew up on me going over a pass in Colorado, and I was stranded on the side of the road, and I was just like, shit, like what do I do? And I ended up just like freaking flooring it, turning the key on, it started. I just threw it in drive with the pedal to the floor, and it started moving, and I made it a few miles to this small town of Gunnison, Colorado, which is actually like the coldest place in the continental United States in the middle of winter. So I was like freezing my ass off at this tow yard trying to figure out if I could get my RV fixed or if it was totaled or what. Like literally whatever someone said, like that's how I was living. Like I was living in this garage for like a couple days, just researching RVs, seeing if I could afford a new one. It was like $2,000 more for a new engine than I paid for the RV. So I was just like, if I'm gonna do this, I was basically committing to the RV life at that point. I was like, I'm just gonna take out a loan and get a new RV. Like I want to do this, but I just want to do it right this time. And yeah, that was probably one of the craziest weeks of my life.
And so after that, like you're in the RV now that you got after that emergency.
Yep.
Do you have a name for
Yep.
your RV?
It's just the Thor Ace, so I just call it the Ace.
Oh hell yeah, I like that name, dude. That's pretty
Yeah.
cool. Some people, yeah,
Sometimes I'll call it the Narv, but
yeah, you can like paint the outside of it, like give it a
yeah,
real character.
that's what I did. Like my first RV, I like redid so much of it, and that was the like learning aspect I needed when I went to buy this RV. Like what I needed, what I could go without.
Yeah. And so do you have an emergency fund saved up that you just don't touch unless it goes wrong? Or are you just riding the lightning and you're like, if it all falls apart, it all falls apart?
I would like to say I do, but I definitely have a small cash reserve saved, but it's I wouldn't, if I went to the hospital, that would be gone in a second.
Yeah. Yeah. Damn, dude. It's just like, yeah, you live in a super, super different lifestyle. I think it's just fascinating. Do you make any money from skiing, or is it only in
Very,
form of,
very little, very
yeah,
little.
yeah,
And whatever I do, it's if it's anything, it's usually travel stuff, so it goes right back to skiing.
yeah. Damn, bro. So looking at like some of the business ventures in skiing, are you involved in the startup of Syndicate, or are you just one of their riders?
I'm just a rider
Mhm.
helping Derek. I talked to him briefly about possibly throwing some money in to get involved with that, but he is very keen on doing it himself, which by all means got like he's killing it. So, and I back him 100%.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, I mean, we're kind of like getting close to modern day what you're up to now. So what's going on with the Mill Bastards and what have you guys been up to? And maybe
Um,
even a little bit of background about who you guys are.
it's just another crew of dudes. Some of them are leached over from the Steam Boys, and another bunch of kids is just kids we met in Salt Lake and Mill Creek area. So it's kind of just like I honestly couldn't even tell you how many homies are involved. It's just like this big thing where everybody's involved, and we're just a crew of kids. There's like a house where like most of everybody goes and hangs out after skiing and stuff like that, which is mostly Owen's house because everybody wants to go watch their clips. So it kind of just turned into this thing like Mill Creek and then Mills, if you know weed and tobacco. So like Millbastards, it just became a thing. I honestly I couldn't tell you who came up with the name, but I know Mikey Guzmano has done a lot of the logos and sticker stuff that I've been making. So
Yeah. And so what's up with this most recent project? I mean, it's a pretty big deal. You guys are doing premieres and you're doing the whole it's almost like a throwback at this point to do a movie premiere, but you guys are making it work. So
yeah,
what's going
yeah,
on?
we oh, it's crazy going along with like help like Lupe's big X Games thing. There was like a bunch of us that kind of helped him with that. So we were just there to also hit features and stuff like that. And he would help us with our features and we'd help him with his. So it was kind of just back and forth. But yeah, there was like Jed Blue Waters, Tyler Snowski, Logan, Reese Rule, like just a bunch of homies met up along the way of that big trip. And we just got a whole bunch of clips and we were just like, let's make something. And then us just basically starting the Mill Bastards crew, we were like, Mill Bastards movie, like, let's go. And yeah, everybody just started stacking clips and we kind of like Owen and Gucci went back through all the film and was just like, yo, we have something here.
Yeah. So it's just made up of extra clips from the past year. It wasn't even like intentional.
Like it, we're definitely like filming for something, but like some of the kids I mean, it's just such a loose crew of like who's in it, who's not. Like nobody's really not in it, but it's like if you want to be, come get clips with us. Like that,
Yeah.
like that's really what it is. Like if you were left out of the movie, it's because you didn't come get clips. That's really all it is.
Yeah, like no
So
one's
it's just like,
excluded. You're just
yeah,
like,
no one's excluded. If you want to come bust your ass and get clips and throw down, you're
yeah,
welcome. And
everyone's a mill bastard at heart. You just
yeah,
got to
and I
show
mean
up.
we're also a group of friends, so it's kind of just like, yo, let's go get a clip, or let's help you get a clip. Like, let's do this. We can all make something sick.
Yeah. Do you think that like, because skiing's definitely changed a lot, you know? So do you think that you guys are holding on to something from the past, or are you doing something new?
I don't think it's new because there's always been crews hitting urban and stuff like that. And like I remember I'm not the greatest at like because it wasn't until 14 when I got into skiing. So like the super old stuff, I and my memory is not the greatest, so I can't. But I just remember this one point in time where like you'd see the same skier in like 6 different cruise movies or 5, like a bunch of different movies, and it's just like because skiing was so small, tight knit, and it's definitely grown to a bigger thing. It's still like a core thing at the end of the day, like to know like names and stuff like that. But so wouldn't say we're doing anything new. We're trying to keep what's dying alive, is what I would say.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's totally the same impression that I get, you know.
Yeah,
And I think like the only new territory that skiing's kind of moving into is that the crew of skiers is also the production company now. Like I feel like the
yes,
days of a production company, quote unquote, hiring talent for their
yeah,
movies is kind of
yes,
going away, and now it's like the skiers make their own crew, finance their own movie, and then
yeah,
release it themselves rather than going through a company.
yeah. If you go through a company, there's some sort of huge money involved.
Yeah, I mean, now that level one's done, I don't even watch like any of the big productions. Like if Steps was still making movies, I'd watch that. But like
Yes.
like I don't know if you'd catch me watching like a TGR movie, even
Oh
though like I know
yeah,
that some of the Step guys are still riding in those, and I would
yeah.
love to see that. It's just I can't
Not the
can't bring
same.
myself.
Not the same.
Dude, it's just not the same. Yeah, I mean, so and that was my like other question that I had for you. Now that you're fully embedded in the ski industry, is it what you thought it was when you were growing up, or have you seen have like now that you're inside it, you see it differently?
It's definitely not 100% what I always thought and pictured of it. There's definitely some things that like you're just like, dang, it's really that way, or it's like that sometimes. Because there are definitely like crews out there, like people out there that are definitely like clicky or just like I don't know. There's definitely people out there that just suck. And there are also people out there that are awesome, and I like to stay around the awesome people that aren't about themselves and are about skiing more than anything.
Yeah. I mean, what were like you don't have to call anyone out, but like what were some experiences where you were like, "Oh, damn, like not everyone's super friendly and super stoked on this. Like there's kind of
It's
assholes that are doing
just
this."
it's not really that is the big thing. It's just like when you from the crazy pros that I have gotten to hang out with that I used to grow up watching movies and like never thought I would like hang out with them or know them on a day-to-day basis or anything like that. Learning stuff from them where it's like you looked up to this other skier that they know very well, where they're like, yeah, like this person doesn't make any money. And you're just like, what? Like, I remember watching that dude in all these movies, and you're like, yeah, well, he like, and they're just like, yeah, they might have made money then, but like, right now, like, they don't aren't making any money through their sponsors, and like their sponsors are using them as such big names still. So like to
Yeah.
me, that was one of the things when I was kind of coming out west, where I was like, don't worry about sponsors or anything. Like, just if you can fund yourself, just do it.
Yeah.
Because it's just I don't know. I've never had a manager. Like getting into that whole business side of it all. Like I was just a kid going to my little ski resort to go skiing and have fun and make videos. And if people loved them and liked them and commented, I would respond and I would build off of that and make cooler stuff. That's
Yeah.
all it really was.
Dude, I think that's been surprising for me too. Like just the complete lack of money in the industry is crazy. Like there's just no money, dude. There's just straight up like, or
Wild because
there's some money, but it's
where's
not
it going? Like
widespread.
that's the thing. Like and it's crazy because like from the people I've talked to, I'm just like nobody like as riders, none of them know where like nobody knows where the like money's at. It's why like everyone's like, oh, there's no money in the industry, but like I I I don't know. Shit's expensive. I don't see where like how there isn't, but it's just where is it going? And like I don't know. It's weird. It's definitely
Yeah,
because it's like surfing. Like I got a $400 surfboard and that's it. Like I spend way more that like I've bought boots for myself. Like I've bought and like I bought look pivots for this year. Like
yeah. Dude, and just skiing is just not cheap whatsoever. But you almost wonder like what the profit margins are for these companies that are selling skis. You know, like maybe
true.
they're just wicked expensive to produce too. So even though they're selling them for a lot, maybe they're not even making a ton of money. I don't know. I personally think that there's a how would you describe it? There's already a standard of not paying athletes. So why would a company willingly pay athletes more? You know?
Yes, especially with the whole social media and like spreading the money out over multiple influencers. It's definitely even if it was small, it's definitely smaller or getting spread thin.
Yeah. So do you see people like in your circles or like in circles that you're familiar with that are like, yeah, dude, I'm just gonna throw it in. There's just not I just can't afford to be a skier full time anymore. Are you seeing that happen?
Definitely.
Hmm.
Definitely. And there's some really close friends of mine that I'm just like, what's it gonna be like? Are you gonna be around the crew in like 2 to 3 years? Where's your head at? Like, and it's like, everybody thinks that. So it's like, even if you've thought that once in your life, like that's not a bad thing. I've thought a million different things as someone who lives in an RV. Like, definitely being a surfer would be way warmer and way cheaper, but I just can't get over the fact that I love skiing and yeah, that's what I want to do.
Yeah. Man, it's like I think that is like I think that is one of the biggest barriers to entry for people. Like we already talked about it. It's not expensive to live in a and live in an RV and just go skiing all the time. But it's the other side of it. It's like making money to
Yeah.
support the lifestyle with a job that's conducive to taking a ton of time off. Like how do you do that without doing construction or doing manual labor? It's like it doesn't seem like it's possible.
I think I think it all comes down to the person. I feel like there are so many reasons to why I am the way I am. And like, I feel like if someone wanted to be a freaking mountain biker or a tennis player, like really anything, you could be a gamer and live in a van. Like, I feel like if there's a way, if you want to do it badly enough, you can learn. You're going to have to give up some things, but if you just do what you want to do and you support, like, as soon as I decided to go skiing, like, and people heard my story when people would ask where I'm from and like me being like, just like some random kid, like, I'm just like, oh, how do I explain it? And then it's just like, oh, I live in an RV. And it's just like, if you can do it and you can figure out a way to do it, just go for it. And the money will follow and the connections you'll make are better than anything you possibly like. The people I've met, I couldn't pay for those relationships. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Dude, what an interesting life, man. How far into the future do you like plan your life? Like, you know, it's hard to have a wife and kids living in a van, Like do you think that one day the party's going to be over or do you just take it 1 year at a time?
I've definitely at 24, I've started to think about those things a little more, but I like I've gotten into like I've started looking into sailboats and stuff like that. Like I like to me, I just want to be able to like be free and to be travel. Like I don't see myself ever quitting skiing, but if it came down to the point where I can't ski anymore, like I'm not gonna cry and crawl up into a ball and just live in my dark little RV on some property. Like I'm gonna go do something else that's sick. Like
Yeah.
I'm not gonna just sit around. Like
So what does free mean to you? Because I feel it seems like that's the crux of like what's
not
guiding your
relying on
lifestyle.
not relying on other people.
Mhm.
That's the like like I don't know, like living on a farm or a ranch has always seemed really cool to me, or like just having that sustainable lifestyle, or like going on YouTube and looking up like sustainable house in the middle of nowhere or some shit like that. Like it'd just be cool if I had a compound somewhere, or like enough room for my friends to come hang out and we could just do whatever we wanted.
So being on the move isn't as important to you as just not being beholden to somebody else.
No, like I could go couch, like I don't need an RV. I could go couch surf all I wanted, but I just don't want to be in other people's way, and I don't want to have to rely on like the kids I'd be staying with are my age. Like I understand if I'm getting to be too much somewhere, like,
Yeah.
but I also like being with my friends. Like I'm a very social person. I don't like being alone, but I don't like being at crazy parties. Like I like a small party group of friends. You can get to know each other.
Yeah. Dude, I'm kind of the same way in that regard. I've always, I come from a small town, so I've always liked having just like tight friends. Like, I'm still friends with all my high school buddies. Like, you've been around those people for years and years and years. It's just like there's something about having those tight relationships that for me personally is better than like going to a party surrounded by a bunch of people you don't know. Obviously that's interesting at times,
Yeah.
but it's just not the same. It's just not the
Uh,
same, dude.
uh,
Dude, um I mean, yeah, is there anything you feel like we haven't covered that's like pertinent to your lifestyle? Are you huge on reading? Are you what are you doing like when you're not skiing and you're not around friends? Like what occupies your time?
I don't read a whole lot. Um, I have, I'm dyslexic, but then I've also had a bunch of concussions over the years. So I mean, if you want to talk about concussions, I'd like love to talk about that to get that out there. Like I know that's becoming more and more of a thing, and for any kids dealing with stuff like that, I definitely would love to share that.
Yeah, dude, I mean, that's got to be a scary experience. I've never had a concussion, but I think like I always wear a helmet because I think that like messing with your noggin is probably one of the scariest injuries that you could have. So like tell your journey with that because I'm sure there's some kids going through that right now that are super freaked out and like worried about it.
Yeah, I've had 11, or I honestly couldn't tell you. I'm definitely over 10 concussions now, where at least 8 of them I don't remember at all what happened. And that seems to be yeah, like memory loss has been like the biggest thing for me from that. Just like I remember my first concussion I ever had. I was just riding a little dirt bike at my cabin. My dad was working, and we to this day neither of us know what happened. I All we know is I guess I wrecked my motorcycle, but I got up, put it away, everything was fine, and then I just the like quick little glimpse of memory that I have is we got in the car, and on the way home I just started asking, where are we going, what are we doing, and then I woke up at home, and like we to this day have no idea what happened or anything like that. And then I think in 5 years I had 4 more, and then I had another couple, and then it's been like 3 years to the dot. This last February I had my last one,
Hmm.
and it was just cruising a day at Brighton, and I just was doing backflips on the last jump, and I was just said screw it and was going to do backflip on all three or something like that, and I caught my tips on the first one and just didn't even get my hands up, and I woke up at Lupe's house in his bed like the next day, or yeah, like the whole next day. And I just like wake up and I'm like in a room, and I'm just like I live in an RV, like this isn't my room. And yeah, like I guess I hit my head and I had to get an ambulance to the hospital. And it's crazy because I'm totally coherent. My memory's just gone. Like I'll be in a loop, just like, what are we doing today? Like I was in a loop like that for like a whole day, just hanging out at Lupe's house, and they were just like checking on me, keeping me good, but just like like when I was younger and I got a bunch of those, like I never, like all that you were told from the doctors was like be in a dark room, no screens, don't sleep, and just do nothing. And as a kid with ADHD, like I always watched movies. I couldn't just sit somewhere. So like I definitely watched more mellow movies and stuff like that, but I would just lay, and most of the time I would sleep, and like all the doctors are just like, dude, that's not good, because if you don't wake up, or like people don't know when you're awake or if you're unconscious or not. So like I definitely had to make sure people were looking after me whenever I was sleeping. But yeah, just like wild to have nothing other than like memory loss at the time. And then like I can see over the years and over the amount of concussions I've had, I've definitely started to get some memory loss where I'm horrible with names. I'm really good at faces, but I'm so bad at remembering someone's name that they literally just told me. But like I can remember the craziest little details from like a family trip when I was like 4 or something like that. So it's such a wild thing to have, and like I know hitting your head is not good. But then it's just like some people that I know have had one concussion and then they have migraines for months and months, and I'm just like, I've always felt lucky to where I never took it serious. And then I feel like after this one, with like me sitting and being out for like almost a whole week, and just like seeing what my friends had to do to like keep me occupied, and like I was asking them the same 5 questions every 2 minutes, I could see how annoying that would get, and just like probably scared the shit out of my parents. They're back home in Pennsylvania, I'm in Utah, and they're like, I don't remember anything.
Yeah.
I didn't remember I had a girlfriend at the time. I didn't like, it was wild.
I mean, have any of those experiences scared you into wanting to wear a helmet?
It's crazy. Like, it's wild because no, not like it hasn't until recently. But most, like, I want to say 7 of like a majority of the concussions I've had full face motocross helmets on.
Yeah, so it's like it
It's
hasn't
like
even been
after a
making a
certain amount
difference.
of concussions, like your brain is gonna bounce inside your head. It's like having a can of goods, like, and you shake the can, you feel the stuff on the inside shake. So it's just like at this point, I'm gonna get concussions no matter what. If you watch the Millbastards movie, there are a few clips where I did have a helmet on. So I'm definitely leaning more towards helmets now, just like listening to a bunch of podcasts about concussions and just like how some people have these such severe things after one hit to the head. And I'm just like, I used to always look up to Travis Pastrana. Like he's got 30 plus concussions, and look at him.
Yeah, he's still with it for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, at least that's what we see.
Yeah, you never know, dude. You also never know like the downstream effects of it.
Yeah.
But like
I
that's thinking years and years into the future potentially. You
yeah,
know?
that's another thing that scared me, was the whole like Will Smith movie with CTE and the football players and stuff like that, where I'm just like, dang, like that could be a possibility in the future. But I don't really like, that doesn't really, like, I never stay thinking about that because I don't know, life's great.
Yeah. Dude, that is an interesting that's a definitely a different perspective on the concussions.
Yeah, it's definitely just like just feel super lucky.
Mhm. But like just got to be careful, man.
Yeah, no, definitely. And like it was just this crazy thing that stemmed from like always watching people put their arms out skating and just breaking arms, and I was like, I don't want to do that. So I would just like roll up into a ball and then I'd hit my head.
Yeah, like take it on the shoulder.
Yeah. So
Dude.
like I'd rather break arms now, but
Yeah. So, all right, so I'm glad you did bring that up though, because I would have had no idea that you've had that much experience with concussions. I did save one question for the very end, if you got nothing else. So, you've like lived out the childhood dream of being a ski bum, and a lot of like that's a dream of a lot of adults still. So, what's like the things that you've experienced? What's like the bucket list that you think that all skiers should experience before they're done riding, and just based on the experiences you've had so far? And I was inspired to ask this question based off your Illumination Rock post, because that is like firmly on my bucket list now.
I was gonna say number one, it's just hard. Like for me, my number one is if you want to be in the industry, go to Spring Pass. But it's like also hard to say that because I feel like it's slowly dying a little bit.
Mhm.
But it's just like wherever that big scene is, go to that and immerse yourself, and the people you'll meet, like it doesn't matter who like it doesn't matter who you are, you'll find a crew. You'll find people. Skiing brings so many people from all over the world and so many different places and backgrounds that you can find that crew because it's such a small knit group that you would like if you don't meet that person, I bet you'll meet someone who knows that person. Number 2, Park City at this point, like Park City or Brighton. Like that's at least where the scene is now. But just like, I don't know, one of the things I would say if you're a skier and my bucket list is go to Canada. Revelstoke was unreal. Whitewater was unreal. Panorama Mountain was pretty sick as well. But just like, I would just ski in as many different places as possible. Like I'm trying to get out to Europe. This whole COVID thing's kind of crazy right now, but the past 2 years I've been trying to figure out a way to bum it in Europe or bum it some foreign place. So when stuff starts opening, hopefully I can get out there.
Yeah. So that's what also I was going to ask. So what's next? You're trying to get out to Europe and trying to get overseas to ski a bit?
I would love to, and if I could figure out a way to get a van or a rig out there, I would love to keep kind of doing the ski bum thing, because I know some European countries that's more accepted than the States, even though I've never run into problems in the States.
Yeah. Everything's different driving abroad, you know?
Yeah. And that just like the last time I've been out of the country other than Canada and like Mexico was Australia as a 5-year-old.
Oh, wow. So it's been your whole life basically.
Yeah. So like, haven't skied anywhere other than North America and Canada. So
yeah. So maybe we'll see Millbastards in Europe. Maybe that's what's next.
Honestly, I've been talking to Owen after seeing all the sick movies that came out from the Euro boys this year. Like, we're talking about it.
Hell yeah. So we'll leave it with that. We'll leave it with a little teaser of something that might be in the future. So, Ryan, thank you very much for coming on. It was dope getting to talk to you, and you definitely got a completely different perspective from anyone I've talked to so far.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. One very last important thing I just wanted to mention. Millbastard movie, Greatest Hits Collection, Salt Lake City premiere, November 14th at the Clubhouse. It's going to be sick. Tall T sponsored it. Deviation Works sponsored it. It's going to be a great time. We got a few short movies planned before, ending it on the Millbastard movie. It's going to be a sick event. Just getting everybody hyped for winter. Everybody pray for snow and be at the Millbastards premiere, November 14th, the Clubhouse. Peace.